what you want, for all that you believe. It's right to fight for what we want, to live the way we please. As long as we have done our best, then no one can do more.
Hello there, welcome to the Flush and Blow podcast. I'm Siobhan, this is Coco, apparently. And that there, yonder, is a Dr. Sinister.
Hello, a Dr. Sinister is correct.
Yes. Do you know which clone batch you're from?
I know I'm the fourth clone.
Right.
I don't know how many batches there are. It's actually a state secret.
Ooh. You
Because
mean
they
the
are
secret's in a bit of a
secreted
state?
around the globe.
Okay, right here. So, what sinister thing has Dr. Sinister been up to in a sinister manner?
Oh, blimey, no idea. I've been selling crystal meth.
You haven't.
Yeah. But here's the catch.
Yeah.
It's pink.
Wow.
Pink.
And the giraffe's really going for it?
Everyone's going for it.
Everybody on the zoo?
Yep.
Good knows what a gibbon would be like on pink crystal meth. Which brings us very neatly, now that you've told us what you sinister things you've been up to in a sinister manner.
Yeah.
Brings us very neatly to what we're talking about today.
Yes.
You haven't quite got the sunglasses, and the slug balancing isn't quite the beard.
Hang on. I can do a close
You haven't got a hat.
approximation of the sunglasses.
And you haven't got a hat. The black hat.
No, I don't. I've been meaning to buy one, actually.
Heisenberg.
Yep,
We're talking Breaking Bad.
we are.
We are. We've come a bit
Because
late.
you finally finished watching it.
I finally finished watching it. Ooh, what a good series this was. It unfolded like a novel.
It did.
It was beautifully done. There was character development. It all tailed together and worked. And it finished nicely.
Every character had their little place in the spotlight.
Yep. Beautiful film, beautifully shot, beautifully directed, beautifully written, beautifully acted.
Yep.
And it tells the... spoiler warning time. That's jazz hands. Okay. Walter White. In Albuquerque. Hot dogs, jumping frogs.
Yes.
He's a chemistry teacher. He used to be he founded a company, which he left. And they hit the big time.
Yeah.
And that's always niggled at him.
Well, he's actually, in his own little way, he's a genius.
God, yes.
But-
There's no two ways about it.
But he's
There's
ended up in a
fine
bit of a
line
crappy
there,
job.
isn't there?
Sorry?
There's a fine line there, really, isn't there?
There is, yes. Yeah.
And he crosses it.
Yeah. In a big way.
Yeah. So he gets diagnosed with cancer, and his main concern initially is to provide for his family once he's gone. Up to a point.
Yeah.
However, that changes and becomes more as time progresses, to the point where he realizes how good he is at doing stuff, and he wants to build an empire. He's not backing out, like he did last time with the chemical company.
Yeah.
So he meets up with a former student. He gets taken. His brother-in-law works at the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency or something, and takes him on a raid just to see what it's like. And he sees one of his former pupils, one Jesse Pinkman, falling out of a window brilliantly, um, and running off. And it gets him thinking, I could make money selling meth. I am a chemist. I could probably improve on recipes and whatever. So he meets up with Pinkman, and it's not an harmonious relationship.
Sometimes it is, but not. They're never completely at ease with each other.
No, they get very close,
Yes.
but it's one of those love-hate relationships.
Yeah.
By all means, Walter manages to improve on crystal meth's purity to 99 point something %,
Yes, he comes up with a new method of making it, essentially.
which is blue.
Yeah.
Stuff's blue. Initially, it's quite funny. They're working out of an old RV in the desert, Winnebago thingy, and they accidentally kill someone.
Yeah, the first of many.
Yeah. It's quite funny in the second episode of them trying to get rid of the body.
In the bath.
Yeah. Jesse puts acid in the bath, puts the body in the bath, and Walt goes, "You did what?"
He's been expressly
And the bar
told not to
crashes
put
through
the
the
acid
ceiling.
in anything other than plastic. Yeah.
I sat there, this is obviously my first introduction, but I'm thinking, should I laugh at this? As it turns out, yes, you should. It develops, first of all, they're selling it on a small time scale to a local drug dealer called Tuco.
Yeah.
And he treats Jesse quite badly, does Tuco.
And he's a bit.
And he's been doing the meth an awful lot, so he's screwed up. And as a result, Walter goes in there and teaches him a lesson by using science.
This
He
is
puts
not meth.
What they think is some crystal meth.
Yeah.
It's not.
Fulminated mercury.
Which basically, if you throw it and it hits, it explodes. Which made Tuco think, okay, these guys are serious.
There's a fantastic flash forward in that episode at the start where I think Walter says, "No more deaths," and they flash forward to that scene where there's alarms going off and there's and then you can see him with his head shaved and it's kind of okay, that's not going to last.
Walter develops almost a separate persona.
Yes.
He uses a pseudonym, Heisenberg. And you can almost tell when the persona kicks in when he puts on a black hat.
Yeah.
And occasionally dark glasses. It gets to the point. He becomes very egotistical. And they end up working for somebody called Gus, who runs a chicken empire. A fried chicken empire.
Los Pollos Hermanos.
Yes.
Chicken brothers.
Walt and Jesse go to cook meth, not chicken, for Gus.
In the super lab.
Laboratory. This guy is cold. He's a businessman. He does know how to treat people properly.
Yeah, but he hides in plain sight.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
He's friendly with the DEA, he makes contributions, he's a well-known public figure, he lives very modestly, but it turns out he's a complete nut job.
Yeah, he allows some of his dealers to kill a child. Well, first of all, they're using a child to sell meth. Jesse objects to this, because it's the brother of someone he's going out with. And Gus says, okay, won't do it again, but has the kid killed. Jesse goes a little bit loopy at this and goes to kill the two dealers who did it. And Walt saves him. I'm not going to say how, because it was quite shocking at the time. As a result, they get on Gus's bad books. In the meantime, his brother Hank, his brother-in-law Hank, who's the DEA agent, is slowly starting to track things down.
But they also, whilst getting on Gus's bad books, he can't do anything about it because they have gone and killed his only other source of the blue meth.
Poor Gail. And his karaoke nights.
Yeah.
He's such a sweet man. I've even developed my own way of making coffee. Anyway, I don't want to give too much away. The thing with Gus is settled quite gruesomely. Mm-hmm. And Walt decides to continue.
Well, I don't know about you, but in that scene when he's in the car after the events, he's gone loopy.
Yeah.
I think Jesse says, well, how do you know this is going to happen? And he says, because I say so.
Yeah. Yeah. He loses it. I mean, his wife eventually finds out, and she gets scared of him because she's sort of saying, what about if we get a knock at the door? You know, what if someone knocks at our door? And he just tells her, I'm the one who knocks.
Yeah.
I am the one who knocks.
Which completely freaks her out. She has to move out for a little while.
Yeah. And he has another good line. Say my name.
Yeah.
Later on, when he's some large dealers, and they don't take him seriously. And he convinces them. Rather brilliant. And he makes them say his name, Heisenberg. Which starts making me think it's actually Mr. Saxon. He's the one who knocks, say my name.
Mm. Yeah.
Just kidding. And some white power twats get involved. Hank is really on their tail. And I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to give it away.
No.
It's just brilliant. It's just utterly brilliant. It's funny. It's heartbreaking. It's dramatic. It's edge of the seat stuff.
So I have a few observations here. So the power does go to his head, but apart from the actual cooking of the meth, in my view, he's not actually terribly good at being a criminal.
I mean, he comes up with certain A-team moments.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not being good at being a criminal tends to get other people killed. But I mean, you know, he's pretty embittered because he's got a son with cerebral palsy. Yeah. He feels like life's led him dealt with a bad hand. And I would pose the question: did the discovery of his disease, is that what tipped him over the edge, or did it turn him bad, or was he always that way inclined? He was just restraining it.
Who can tell? I'm glad they didn't go for the easy option.
Yeah.
Which was basically say that the cancer had spread near the tumour in his brain.
Yeah.
Which would affect the personality. I'm glad they didn't go for that.
Yeah.
I
just think he ended up. It does unfold like a book because it starts out relatively slowly, and he just gradually gets sucked further and further and further in until it's got to the point where he's no longer getting sucked in. He is now the one sucking in others. You know.
The thing is, he has several chances to be out of it.
Yeah, he had plenty. Well, every time he gets to a certain point, it's almost as if he feels he has to kill his next immediate boss to get to that position. And he gets to that position, and then there's someone else on his back. So it's a case of...
This is your sort of career advancement.
It's Klingon. It's what you do in the Klingon Navy. You kill
anyway,
your
if you
immediate
want to see
superior.
a little bit about how Breaking Bad starts, we're going to show you something now.
Mr. White lived in a place called Drugland. Everything and everyone in Drugland was completely addicted to drugs. In Drugland, the birds are so wasted, they fly backwards. In Drugland, the worms spend most of their time completely munted. Have you ever seen a sausage dog snaffling a line of cocaine? Well, you have now. Our story begins at the local school where Mr. White was teaching the children chemistry. He was just describing a particularly long chemical formula when suddenly he coughed. Oh dear, said Mr. White. I don't like the look of that. Oh dear, said Dr. Make-You-Well. I'm afraid you've got lung cancer. Oh dear, said Mr. White. That is terrible news. How bad is it exactly? Put it this way, said Dr. Makewell. If I was you, I wouldn't be renewing any magazine subscriptions in the near future. Oh shit, said Mr. White. We really need to start your treatment right away, said Dr. Makewell. Here, take this special pill. Mr. White swallowed the pill, and immediately all of his hair fell out. Bollocks, said Mr. White. Well, I think it looks pretty cool, said Dr. Makewell. He then lit up his crack pipe. Poor Mr. White drove home feeling very sorry for himself. He was particularly worried about his family's future. I should probably think about getting my affairs in order, he thought to himself. Just then, at the traffic lights, who should appear but an old student of Mr. White's called Jesse Pinkman. Hello, Jesse, said Mr. White. Hello, Mr. White, said Jesse. How are you? Not so well, said Mr. White. In fact, I'm rather poorly and have very little time to live. Oh dear. Would you like to buy some hash? Said Jesse. You know, take the edge off. No, thank you, said Mr. White. But suddenly, Mr. White had an extraordinary idea. I say, said Mr. White, I was just wondering if you might consider joining me in building an enormous crystal methamphetamine empire. You see, by combining my extensive chemistry expertise and your narcotics know-how, we could make quite a go of it. And what's more, the rapid capital income will more than secure future financial protection for my soon-to-be bereaved family. Sure, bitch, said Jesse. Later that day, Mr. White and Jesse began to cook their first batch of crystal meth. It was so hot out in the desert, they had to cook in their underpants. Have you ever seen such a thing? Very soon, their first batch was ready. It was a most beautiful shade of bright blue. And you know, when he tried it, Jesse got so high that when he came down, it had thrown him. Yeah, bitch, said Jesse. My word, Mr. White, said Jesse. That shit right there is impossibly pure. Sure is, said Mr. White. But from now on, I'd like to be known as Battenberg. Isn't that a cake? Said Jesse. Sure is, said Mr. White.
I love that. Since I've got the faintest idea what I'm going to tell them to put in.
No.
It's Mr. White from the Mr. Men.
Aha! Yeah. Brilliant.
We're going to steal that and put that in. We'll put a credit up, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just the Arthur Lowe impersonation. Superb.
Is that
anyway.
the same guy who did Mr. Nazi?
I don't know.
Have you seen Mr. Nazi?
No, I'll have a look for that afterwards.
It's very short. Look it up. You will laugh somewhat.
Okay. So, I adore Breaking Bad. I'm glad they finished it where they finished it. I'm glad they had the restraint to. I'm glad Walt got one final opportunity to outsmart people
Yes.
in his own clever way.
We have missed out one important character, by the way, in your excellent resume.
There's the turtle.
Nope.
There's I can't remember his name.
Saul.
Not Saul, but we'll come back to Saul. There's the wheelchair bloke. Ding
Yes.
ding ding ding.
Yeah.
Saul Goodman. Their lawyer. Better call Saul.
What we need is, we don't need a criminal lawyer. We need a criminal lawyer.
Saul Goodman. Oh dear. Oh my word. Very clever.
Possibly the most corrupt legal representative that's ever been depicted.
Very funny in places.
Yeah.
Very quick thinking.
Yes.
does know the law,
Yeah.
and there's a spin-off show, Better Call Saul,
Yeah.
which will be starting soon on Netflix, which is a prequel. And I'm rather looking forward to it. There's an awful lot of Breaking Bad stuff on the net, on YouTube, fan-made stuff, which is superb. We've just shown you the Mr. Men thing, which I think was up for a comedy award. But there's a lot more. Somebody else has covered the theme tune, because there is actually a full-length version of the theme tune.
Is there really?
Yeah. If you look at the penultimate episode, he's sat in the bar.
Yeah.
And he makes a
Yeah.
phone
Yeah.
call.
They play it when the police come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a progressive theme that builds up and builds up. And when you cut to where Walt should be,
Yeah.
they kick the theme you're familiar in with.
Right.
And that whole piece is the theme tune.
Okay.
I'm glad they played it at least once. And they got just the right moment to do it. Because you're thinking, I know this music. It's building to something. You're seeing all this happen. And then suddenly, bang.
I mean, in terms of that last episode, obviously we're not going to give away the plot, but I got a lot of closure from that episode. The way that essentially, despite everything, he did manage to come out on top, as you said.
Yeah, he did. And he got his desserts. We're not going to say what's going to. We'll discuss this off camera. But Vince Gilligan, Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul, and all the others, hats off. Heisenberg hats off. What's Mr. Chris been up to this week?
Oh, let's have a look.
Really?
Yeah. Sonic screwdriver. Dangerous place to be.
Thinking of the trashings.
Indeed. Marsh gas as well.
Anyway, that's us. We were going to do some stuff about World of Tanks, but we talked too much about Breaking Bad. So next I want to talk about World of Tanks. Quite simply, very briefly, the clan's kicking off. Apart from my Twitch channel and my YouTube channel, the clan Steel Legion is going to start doing stuff. So we're looking for recruits. Remember, this isn't going to cost you anything, a little bit of time, but that's about all. Come and join us, have some fun. And you get to chat to us and whatever. I don't mean, by all means watch on Twitch and whatever, but come and join us, play the game. We're on the EU server. Please, come and have some fun with us. Okay, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Doodles.
Thank you.